you 100% do not want to connect this up to a Jackery. If you do, be sure and have your camera rolling so we can see what blows up. Welcome to another question and answer video. This is from when I hooked up a battery to my 240 volt plug-in solar system. I'm curious what your thoughts are on using the generator port of an off-grid inverter like the EG4 12000 XP instead of a dedicated outlet. Maybe a pro/con conversation around that topic. That's actually a very valid question. So I'm zoomed up here on my 12000 XP. You can kind of see it across the top here. But one of its strengths is this breaker right here, and my hand's covering up part of the labeling, but that is the smart load breaker, and you're actually able to hook up AC coupled solar to this breaker. So the Hoymile system would be classified as an AC coupled system, and so yes, you could certainly feed that setup right into this breaker right here, and the 12000 XP would create a quote-unquote grid that the Hoymile system would be able to recognize and boot up and start exporting power, and the 12000 XP would either direct it to the loads that it's powering or charge batteries with it. Or it has the capability of actually making the microinverter see that the grid is absent and, just completely shut the solar system down. The question is this connection point better than just plugging it right into the wall? And my argument is, I think the wall plug is better if you were going to go with the Hoymile system if you don't already have the 12000 XP. Because if you already have the 12000 XP, then I think you shouldn't even bother with the Hoymile system and just add a couple extra solar panels to your 12000 XP. It can accept up to 24,000 watts of solar. It's insane. And at that point, I think the Hoymile system is kind of null and void. The whole idea of this system is to get you started at a lower cost of entry and just immediately start saving monthly on your power bill. Now the good news is, if you go with the battery option, this Temgo battery as well as this charge controller, it will work with the 12000 XP, down the road. One of the super strong suits of this 12000 XP, which was one of the main reasons why I got it, was the smart load breaker. Because if you look here in this video, I've got a Solar Edge solar system, and I wanted to be able to run that when the grid was down, off grid, so to speak, and the 12000 XP runs it perfectly. So that is a great example of where that smart load breaker and circuitry in the 12000 XP shines, is something like this, where you have an existing large system that you're trying to take off grid. I'll leave a link for this AC coupling video down in the description. Some of you may find it very interesting, because I'm sure a number of you have existing grid tie systems that you may be wanting to take off grid, and the 12000 XP and the setup I've got makes that super easy. Another question from that same video: does this stay on when the grid goes down? The short answer is 100% no. The Hoymile's microinverter has all the certifications and safety features to prevent, anti-islanding, do the rapid shutdown technology, all of that stuff. And so as soon as it does not see any of the grid power anymore, it shuts down almost immediately. It is very fast. And so you must have grid power present for the Hoymile's microinverter to boot up. However, stay tuned, because I've got a video coming up here soon where I'm going to show you this very system right here and demonstrate how you could take it off grid. We just kind of looked at one version using, something that is compatible like the 12000 XP with AC coupled solar, but there's an even cheaper, easier way to do it, and I'm going to be making a video about that soon. Stay tuned for that. Another question from the same video here. Question from someone who doesn't have solar yet, but wants it badly. Virginia just passed balcony solar like Utah. In a grid outage, can you make a microinverter think the grid is still on? I'm thinking a manual cutover like the generator safety switch, basically switch off the grid and use something like the Jackery to fake grid power. So I want to capitalize on something here, and that is this last part where you're talking about using the Jackery to fake grid power, because we just covered in the last couple of questions that the microinverter will not turn on if there's no grid present. So this question, though, is saying that what they'll do is feed power back into their house using a Jackery power station, which would then, create the illusion of grid power being present, which could then cause the microinverter to boot up. Well, here's the crazy thing. The microinverter would boot up, because it would see that power coming from the Jackery power station as grid power. It has no clue the difference between power station power and grid power. So long as it's within spec, which it should be, it's going to boot up. But the Jackery is not designed to be able to absorb power. And so now all of a sudden you're going to have this conflict of power, and something is going to be more powerful than the other one. I'm not sure which one, but something's going to blow up the other one, and it's not going to be pretty. So I would highly recommend not doing that. But if you do, just be sure and have your camera rolling on the two products so we can see what thing blows up and how epically it blows up. This is from my first video of the 240 volt plug-in solar system. I don't understand, how does it know how much power to send down each leg? On a split phase system, the power is not going to be equal on each leg. Can you explain how the microinverter balances output across both legs when household loads are uneven? Yes, I can. It's actually quite simple. The microinverter does not balance anything at all. It is going to send a symmetrical amount of power on both legs. And you are exactly right that the power is never going to be symmetrical on both sides unless you happen to have all 240 volt load, which no one does. So the secret to how the microinverter can balance this is in the fact that it is a grid tie microinverter. I will leave a link to this video down in the description from the Engineering Mindset. They do a fantastic job explaining very clearly and visually how electricity and other things work. But essentially, because you are connected to your grid connection still, you have access and can use the utilities transformer. So the microinverter is going to feed in on line 1, which is the black wire, and line 2, which is the red wire, and it's going to be symmetrical. But line 1 could be pulling a little more power than line 2, and that's where the neutral wire actually comes into play. So the imbalanced load will be made up by the utility transformer actually mounted on the utility pole or wherever it is for your particular house. And so any imbalanced load from line 1 and line 2 will actually get carried by the neutral back to the coil here in the transformer, and it will get equalized out there so that they're perfectly symmetrical again. That's kind of the overview. Like I said, I'm going to leave a link to the Engineering Mindset video in the description so you guys could go check it out and get the full rundown on how it works. Next question from the stupidly cheap pre-built 16 kilowatt hour battery, which was the HumSync wall mount battery. Is it safe to mount these types of batteries horizontally? I would say definitely do not do that. And here's 3 good reasons why. First, the battery is obviously engineered to stand upright, on its wheels. So that's just a good indication of the proper orientation. Issue number 2, on this particular battery, you've got your terminals on one side, and technically on the other side you don't have other terminals, but you do have the little handle and stuff. Anyway, could be a little challenging to get it on its side. But probably most importantly is if you take a look at my teardown segment, on this particular battery, the tops of the battery cells themselves are pointing out towards both sides of the battery. And so laying the battery down one side or the other would place the vents and the terminals of the battery cells themselves upside down. And that is not a good position for battery cells. So yeah, I would highly recommend not trying to tip this over on its side and use it in that fashion. Feedback continues to be positive for these question and answer videos, so I'm going to keep bringing them to you. Please keep sounding off in the comments with your questions so that I can address some of them in my weekly video. A lot of you have been taking advantage of these direct question submissions as well as my one-on-one video consultations, and so far the feedback has been very positive, and I've been able to help a ton of you specifically with your individual projects. So anyway, you can always find these links in the descriptions of all my videos. So take advantage of those. And then a huge one here that the feedback has just been tremendous on is this custom search engine I've built for my YouTube channel. You want to know if I've talked about transfer switches? Type that keyword into the search here and it will pull up all of the videos that may have something to do with transfer switches that I have specifically mentioned in a video title, a video description, or the best place, the video transcription. So here's one specifically about a transfer switch, and you want to see this part right here that is highlighted. You can just click this timestamp and it's going to jump right to that part of the video. You can also just click the thumbnail and you can watch the video from the start if you want. So anyway, very powerful, very helpful for a lot of people. So be sure and take advantage of that resource as well. 100% free for all of you. We've got so many epic videos in the pipeline. You guys are going to love this. Stay tuned for more. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and hype on your way out. All of you stay safe, and we'll catch y'all next time.